Good afternoon, and welcome to the Wednesday afternoon conference call with Trusts Unlimited. This is Jim George speaking. I'm the non-attorney spokesman and facilitator for Trusts Unlimited. I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time to listen to this call. Today's March 27th, 2024. The things we discuss on this call are important to you. I hope you will click the subscribe button and listen to our weekly calls. We try to provide the most updated information we can. This is probably going to be a little shorter call today because we're just getting blown up with all kinds of requests for our trust package, requests to amend their existing trust, issues about exchanges, some of the post-RV work that we're doing. A lot of people are very excited about what's going on. I actually think they have a good reason to be excited. We're in a place we've never been before, in my opinion. So I decided to take a little different approach to today's call. And I want to step back and kind of take a 30,000-foot view of what's going on in Iraq, in the Middle East, globally, and discuss a little bit where I think we're going. I think certainly the next 60, but perhaps even the next 30 days are going to be very, very interesting and hopefully very profitable for us. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on. Observation number one. Iraq, in my opinion, per square mile, might be the richest country in the world. I've discussed this on numerous calls, but they're an embarrassment of wealth. Iraq is also geographically and geopolitically the gateway between the East and the West, which makes Iraq even more important. Iraq is the necessary final ingredient, in China's Silk Road Initiative to reestablish the old Silk Road trade system between the East and the West. Arguably, the establishment of the Silk Road Initiative could be the single largest trade multilateral agreement in history, and Iraq is an integral part of that. Also, we've reached stage 4 of Basel compliance. Well, what is Basel? Basel is a 5-step process which began in 1988, which is the global transition from fiat-based to commodity-backed currencies. So again, from the 30,000-foot view, Iraq is in an extremely important position. And remember, the revaluation of the Iraqi dinar really is in a perfect storm because we are going from a currency that's in a sanctioned program rate worth very, very little to a currency that will be reinstated at a Basel IV compliant rate based on the known natural resources of the country and their ability to bring those resources to market. When you factor all of that in, the leverage involved in the reinstatement of the dinar is historic. It's never happened before, and it's never going to happen again. Second observation. At present, Iraq simply does not have enough USD reserve currency to fund their 3-year budget or pay for any of the international contracts to rebuild their electric grid, their water systems, their road systems, their new magnificent airport in Baghdad, and some 19 cities. Therefore, the only remaining option for Iraq to facilitate these contracts is the reinstitution of their currency. Third observation. Iraq is entertaining membership in the BRICS nations, the World Trade Organization, the European Reconstruction Bank, and the World Free and Economic Zones. Now, membership in these organizations makes absolutely no sense for Iraq or the international organizations if Iraq remains in a program rate. So everything that's being done, the position of Iraq geographically, geopolitically, Iraq's known natural resources, Iraq's intention to rebuild the country and delivery systems for the trade and imports and everything. When you look at this again from 30,000 feet, the only thing that you can conclude is that Iraq is poised to reinstitute their currency. Let's look at a little bit of a timeline of what's been going on as well. Well, we know for months, but particularly in the beginning of March, that Soudani, the Prime Minister, and a governor of the Central Bank of Iraq have made repeated public statements regarding the return of the Iraqi dinar to its glory days. That's north of 322. And 322, in my view, is a conservative number. March 26th, the Minister of Finance, Hussein, met with Anthony Blinken in the United States regarding the banking reforms that were being done, as well as other officials that have meetings with officials of the U.S. Treasury. Now, we also know that Ramadan is running from March 10th to April 8th. Now, Ramadan may be the most sacred holiday within the faith of Islam, marked by prayer and fasting from sunrise to sunset. We know that at the end of Ramadan is the feast of Eid al-Fitr, which runs from April 9th to April 14th. And on April 15th, Soudani has a trip to the United States. Now, I don't think that these dates are coincidental at all. They go through the most sacred holiday of Ramadan. They have the celebration post-Ramadan of Eid al-Fitr, and at the end of that, Soudani makes a trip to Washington, D.C. In my opinion, Soudani is going to present a file to the United States Treasury. And that file is going to contain three things: proof that they have completed their monetary reform, proof that they have completed all of the reforms necessary for the United States to lift the OFAC sanctions, and again, in my opinion, the exchange rate at which they're going to float the currency on the Forex. So this is a short call because there's not a lot of complexity here. I think we've reached the end of a very long journey. I think certainly in the next 60 days, if not the next 30 days, we're all going to be in a very, very profitable position. Now, those of us that have been on this journey know that Iraq has repeatedly snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. But I think they've checked all the boxes. They've done everything they need to do. They have the right people in place to get the job done. So God willing, this will all be over. And within the next 30 to 60 days, we'll be in the banks exchanging our currencies. I'm going to briefly move right on to the trust package that we've established, the Family Asset Protection Trust Package that we've been marketing for, 15 years. And I want to give you the 5 reasons why you need to establish this trust package. Reason number 1, privacy and anonymity. By establishing your trust package pre-RV, in addition to protecting your privacy, this trust will make it extremely difficult, if not impossible, for anyone to sue you, particularly individuals who file frivolous lawsuits, and most lawsuits are frivolous. The second reason you'd want to establish this trust package is because it will allow you to avoid IRS scrutiny. By establishing your trust pre-RV and assigning your currencies to that trust, you will significantly avoid the possibility of a 6-year IRS audit. Because if the IRS should determine to audit your trust, the only taxable event within it will be the revaluation itself. Therefore, there will be no 6-year audit. The third reason you'd want to establish this trust package, because it'll allow you to avoid the federal gift tax. You can gift currencies to family and friends outside of a trust, but if you gift currencies to family and friends, that's pre-RV currencies within the trust, not only will you avoid the federal gift tax, but you will have control of the post-RV proceeds, which is important in a case where you have children that you're gifting currencies to, perhaps invalids or individuals that are just unaccustomed to managing money at all. You'll be able to assist them with the post-RV proceeds. The fourth reason you'd want to establish this trust package is because it will allow you to avoid probate and the federal estate tax. By avoiding probate, that means no one will know the size of your estate, who your heirs are, and how much they each stand to inherit. In addition, by establishing this trust, you will avoid the federal estate tax, which can be as high as 65% of your estate in excess of $12.2 million. And lastly, this trust will provide you with preemptive asset protection. By transferring the currencies, the pre-RV currencies, to the trust, you have capped any potential civil loss to the value of the currency at the time of the transfer, irrespective to the value after the revaluation. In addition, by placing your physical assets in separate sub-trusts within the package, you will limit any potential civil loss to the asset within that given sub-trust, while all of the other assets and net worth are protected under the other sub-trusts. Now, our trust package is initially a package of 10 trusts consisting of one master trust that will hold assigned currencies pre-RV and financial assets like bank accounts and investment accounts post-RV, one optional gift sub-trust, which can be converted, if not needed, to a standard sub-trust, and 8 additional standard sub-trusts to hold physical assets like homes, cars, boats, etc. This was the simplification of a rather sophisticated trust package that we've utilized in the past for our more affluent clients. The package had an initial cost of anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000, but when we decided to market our trust to denarians, we knew that price tag would be unaffordable for many, so by simplifying the package, we've been able to reduce the cost to $3,000. There are a number of ways you can pay for that. Pay us up front, we'll discount the price to $2,500, saving you an additional $500. That's not possible. We do have a deferred payment arrangement. You make an initial payment of $525, which somewhat offset our out-of-pocket costs just to produce and deliver your trust package to you. The balance of the $3,000 would then be paid in $100 monthly installments. The only proviso is once the Iraqi dinar revalues globally, any unpaid balance would need to be paid within 30 days. One other suggestion, we do accept credit cards. Pay us up front with a credit card. Not only will you get the $500 discount, but the minimum payment on your card would be less than the $100 a month you'd pay under our deferred payment arrangement. But we will work with you in whatever method works best for you. Our objective is to help you get your trust enforced and your affairs in order for all of the things we've suggested. I'm going to go to the Q&A in just a moment, but before I do, I wanted to mention that the reason we marketed this trust package is because we knew that most denarians were just hardworking middle-class Americans who, for the first time in their life, were going to be faced with the daunting task, literally overnight, of managing a substantial amount of wealth. But under our system of civil procedure, it's when you hold assets in direct title that you can lose control of them or lose them outright. If you've lived for any length of time, you've either experienced in your own life or through friends and family things like unexpected divorce, permanent incapacitation, the onset of dementia, premature death and prolonged and complicated probate processes. Then there are investment losses, business losses, and even bankruptcies. The number 2 loss of wealth now in the aggregate, courtesy of the information age, is identity theft. But the number 1 loss of personal wealth remains confiscation through civil litigation. Anything you own in direct title can be taken from you. So in point of fact, the only way that you can manage, protect, and control everything at all times and in all circumstances is through the establishment of a package of irrevocable trusts, and particularly if you have an asset like these currencies that you anticipate a substantial increase in value. And we at Trusts Unlimited will do everything we can to help you accomplish your personal and financial objectives, both post and pre-RV. I know I moved quickly today, but this is where we are in the process. It's pretty simple where we are right now. Iraq is poised to reinstitute their currency, and there are things people need to do to ensure their privacy and their asset protection. I'm going to go ahead and go to our, pardon me, hit the wrong button. I'm going to the Q&A right now. While I'm waiting for any potential calls, if you'd like to get our initial no-obligation package, it does contain everything you need if you wish to proceed with the establishment of your family asset protection trust. But it has a lot of valuable information about us, about trusts, about the currencies, about the process for evaluation, all of these things. You can contact us either by email or phone. Our email address is trusts with an S, Unlimited LLC at gmail.com, and our phone service is 307-274-4122. Contact us by email or phone in order to request our initial package. We'll get it out to you right away. Review the package. Contact us if you have any questions. We'll be happy to assist you. If you decide to proceed, simply submit the order form and application, and everything will go to our paralegals for preparation. So let's go to our Q&A here. Our first caller is area code 817. That's 817. Go ahead.
Hi, Jim. This is Rose from Texas.
Hello, Rose.
Hi.
How are you? Rose from Texas. A Texas Rose. Okay.
Yeah, I've been trying to get in touch with you. You had told me a while back that since our trust was so old, we got our trust back when Ray was on there, and you said there were some changes, and it seems like we're getting awfully close, and I'm getting nervous about not knowing what changes and if our trust is even still good. So I would appreciate it if you could call me back later or something and tell me what has changed.
I'll call you back after this call, and I'll explain in detail what the upgrades are, and at that point you can decide whether that's relevant for you. Okay?
Okay. That sounds good.
Okay, Rose. You take care.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye now. Okay, our next caller is area code 210. That's 210. Go ahead.
Hey, Jim. It's Ted in Texas. Just checking
sir.
with you. When we establish the trust give other people funds, do we need to send that to you to be registered, or just fill it out and hang on to it?
No, you don't send us anything. If you have the gift subtrust, you, of course, execute the documents to put the subtrust in force, and the one supplemental document is the minutes of meeting gifting letter. And in that letter, you will list who the recipients are from the gift subtrust and how much of each currency. Once those documents are executed, then you will go to the exchange protocol document, which explains why you do not take the gift subtrust to the bank at the point of exchange. You only take your master trust and the EIN number certification so that they can create a trust bank account. All of the exchanged dollars, U.S. dollars, go into the master trust bank account. Once that money is available, then you go back to the bank with the gift subtrust and establish accounts for those that you're gifting currency to.
Okay, does the gift subtrust, does it require the EIN number?
Yes, it does. The gift subtrust will require a separate EIN number because you will be the trustee of that one trust within the package.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Certainly. Okay, bye-bye now. All right, our next caller is area code 615. That's 615. Go ahead.
Hi, Jim. This is Bill. How are you today?
Okay, Bill. What can I do for you?
I was just wondering if it's still on the drawing board that after this transpires that we all have an opportunity to get together around the table and a cup of coffee and discuss investments, wise steps moving forward, and that sort of thing.
Yes. Our plan is to have general discussions about taxes, investments, and offshore planning. We were going to schedule an in-person seminar in Disney World, but unfortunately they're getting kind of weird with masking and 6 feet apart if they decide that there's any health issues. And so what we're probably going to do is an in-office DVD, and then for those that don't attend that, we'll put it on our website or even or email it out at request. And then our objective is to provide basic bottom line information so that you can seek out your own assistance with taxes and investments, although we will probably, at this point, our plan is to have our offshore people there, and you can deal directly with them if that's something that you might be interested in. But we're probably going to downgrade from the Disney thing just because of the logistics.
Understandable. I understand that that place is in Florida, and I'm not sure we want to go there.
Well, there's a lot of other places I'd rather not go than Florida, but like I said, they're getting a little strange with they have these new protocols now because of potential virus, all this nonsense. So, I don't want to participate in that, and most people don't either. Like I said, we can do things on Zoom and by computer. So there's other ways we can do it without, getting on an airplane and getting together personally. I mean, it's a nice thing to do, but not if they're going to make it difficult.
That I agree. Is there anyone that you folks are recommending, endorsing from a tax standpoint that's familiar with Forex profits that we could have some conversation with prior to our reevaluation?
I'm not privy to those discussions, although they're taking place, but I'm getting the vibe that they're deciding that people should seek their own investment advisors. The only area where I think we will still be involved is our offshore specialists, and there's 2 or 3 of those, and depending upon their response post-RV, we'll probably decide who we would recommend and who we would have on one of our DVDs or podcasts to explain the logistics of how all of that would work.
Got it. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Sir, you too. Bye-bye now. Our next caller is area code 843. That's 843. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Jim. First of all, thank you as always for everything that you do and all your information that you put out there. I'm curious to know your take on I guess I don't even know if to call it a recent development on Iraq supposedly has joined the SWIFT system again around about the beginning of 2023. And I've seen a couple of articles out there that their increase in, I guess, dollar exchanges has gone from something in the neighborhood of $50 million a day to over $200 million a day, and how that would potentially affect their foreign currency reserves, particularly the U.S. dollar, in reference to their reserves that they hold in U.S. dollars increasing, I guess is the way to say that?
I think what they're doing is they're just ramping up their expenditures in anticipation of where they're going with this. But, of course, once they flip the switch and they reinstitute the dinar, you'll see, in my opinion, a plummet in the use of the U.S. dollar and utilizing their own currency. Why would they even bother utilizing any reserve currency once their currency is reinstated? And particularly I mean, I make the argument that, in my opinion, the Iraqi dinar will be the strongest currency against the U.S. dollar when it reinstitutes, so why would they use the dollar?
Okay. I guess, like you said towards the end of the call there, that, Iraq has been known to rip victory right there at the precipice of them receiving it. And
right.
I was just, as a way of, quote unquote, making an excuse to not put their currency on the Forex or whatever, that they have all these, quote unquote, dollar reserves now that may help with the budgetary deficit, if you will, for everything that they've got going on. And I don't know. I just don't know how to take that type of information. And like I said, there's been several articles that I've come across that have stated this. I'm not saying that it's 100% fact. I'm just stating that, is there a possibility for that, I guess, is the best way to say that.
Well, if we've been doing this for 15 years, I guess anything's possible. But in my opinion, it's just a matter of when they flip the switch, all that's going to change. They're going to hold the U.S. dollar as one of their reserve currencies. It may not be at a percentage where it would have been prior to our government printing $7 trillion in the last 3 years and diluting the value of the dollar. People running our treasury could take notes from Iraq, frankly. It's hard for me to believe they're even on our side with some of the things that they're doing. They're destroying the dollar. But
I totally agree, by the way.
Yeah, but I still think Iraq will hold USD. But the objective, of course, is to utilize their own currency. If their currency, if each dinar is worth $3.22, well, look at the purchasing power there, not only domestically but internationally. So why would they use the U.S. dollar when it just doesn't go as far? I mean, that's just common sense, So
right.
They will always hold the U.S. dollar. They will always have it in their reserve currency. If there's a change of administration in November, and a lot of people try to hedge their bets, they say, well, what should we do if Biden's president for 4 more years, and what should we do if Trump or someone else is president for 4 more years? Well, if Trump gets back in there, he's going to pump the brakes on all this nonsense. So the U.S. dollar will probably regain its strength. We will produce more oil, so things could turn around rather quickly. But the objective of Iraq is to utilize their own currency domestically and for trade.
Okay. The other question I had in reference to the currency, a couple of calls ago, you had mentioned about, I guess, deletion or lopping of removing the zeros and a 272, I think it was, kind of exchange rate that, nobody else can see. I'm still of the view that if it goes to, 50 cents, I'll be cutting backflips. But I was curious if you had any more information in that regard, and kind of
I was talking about
that.
Yeah, I was talking about some back screen information that had been provided to me. My concern, though, is, and I've received a lot of calls from people saying that, well, once they lift the 3 zeros, that means that the currency we hold, for example, a $10,000 dinar note's only a 10 dinar note. So we will be able to exchange it at the new rate, but it won't be 10,000. It will be 10 dinar. I personally don't subscribe to that. Again, anything's possible, but that makes no sense because all of the central banks that are holding dinar, all of the hedge companies that are holding dinar, the fact that countries are doing currency swaps with the dinar, they're not doing it with the assumption that the currencies are going to, that they're going to be affected by that. The reduction of the 3 zeros simply has to do with the Iraqi nationals that take their provisional 3-0 currency to the bank and get the new national currency. Will have something that they can utilize for purchase. There was something else I wanted to. Oh yes, if that was in fact the case that they were going to lift the 3 zeros and it was going to affect all of us, why have they been trying desperately to collect all of the provisional 3-0 currency globally? There'd be no need to do that if the 3 zeros are not going to be recognized internationally. So I don't see that, personally, I don't see that as an issue.
Okay. Jim, thank you for your time, sir. I hope you have a good rest of the day, and happy Easter to you.
Oh, you too, Mike. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Okay, our next caller is area code 301. That's 301. Go ahead.
Hi, Jim. It's Larry from Maryland. Thank you for all of this. Trying to process what you had just said, with all of these activities leading up to April 15, do you believe that, in your opinion, those are prerequisites to the reevaluation, or does Iraq have the capacity if they wanted to do it April 1st?
Yeah, I've said this on the call. I think it's already done. They just haven't told us.
But then what would keep them from, what would be the reason to wait?
Well, they want to.
Is there a good reason?
Like I said, they want to complete all the contracts that they're working on. They want to complete the currency swaps that they're working on. They want the OFAC sanctions officially removed, ascension to the World Trade Organization. In other words, in my mind, it's not like they're going to do all these things and then they're going to change the rate. In my opinion, they've already done the rate internally. Everyone that they're talking to knows they've done the rate internally, and it's just a matter of them fulfilling whatever external obligation they've made, whether it's for the OFAC sanctions or some banking regulations that one of the international agencies want. I just, in my opinion, it's already done. We're just not privy to it.
As much logistics, it could be then just watch for it any day, like we've been.
Yeah, that's where, in my opinion, that's where we are. And I'm saying 60 to 30. By the way, I'm from Maryland. I'm from Maryland myself. I just want your opinion. Was the calamity at the Francis Scott Key Bridge an accident, or is there some nefarious activities going on?
Well, I couldn't possibly answer that other than I just don't believe in a lot of coincidences these days. That's, I think, all I could offer.
Well, you and I are in the same place. Just wanted to check in. That bridge has been there for almost 50 years, and that was a very, very bizarre situation.
Well, then the headline on one of today's articles is that those pillars were built to withstand a certain amount of stress. But again, I'm not an expert on any of that, so I'll leave it alone.
Yeah. Fair enough. Take care.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye. Okay, our next caller is area code 347. That's 347. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Is it possible that Biden could delay the RV, until after the November elections?
I don't know why he would want to delay it from a political well, let me put it to you this way. Let's assume that this thing happens. Joe Biden had absolutely, positively, unequivocally nothing whatsoever to do with it. But he's going to split his pants taking bows and claiming credit for it. My fear isn't so much that it's going to be a re-election ploy. My fear is that the currency that we hold could be utilized to substantially reduce our national debt, and instead he's going to go on a spending spree and a vote-buying binge. That's my fear. Okay. I think the OFAC sanctions was the last thing that the United States had that would be an impediment to this being done, and I think those issues have been resolved.
Okay, so you think that Biden's going to remove the OFAC sanctions regardless?
Not only do I think the OFAC sanctions will be lifted, I don't know if the OFAC sanctions, barring any other impediment, in and of itself would stop this freight train from coming down the tracks, which is the reinstatement of the currency. Because everything else that they're doing would be for naught, and I just don't see that being the case.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Certainly. All right. Bye-bye now. Okay, our next caller is area code 231. That's 231. Go ahead.
Hello, Jim. I called you earlier regarding publication 505 and estimated taxes, and I'd like to have a little discussion with you, perhaps after you're done with your call today, because it's kind of lengthy.
Okay, hold on a second. Let me just write down your phone number, and then I'll give you a call after this call, okay?
Okay. It's 231-206-1990.
Got it.
All right.
Okay. You take care. All right. I'll be talking to you soon. Bye-bye now. Okay, our next caller is area code 860. That's 860. Go ahead.
Hello, Jim?
Yes.
Jim, can you hear me?
I'm here. Yes,
okay,
I can hear you.
This is John in Connecticut.
Okay, John.
Okay. Listen, I've sent you I've sent 3 different emails. For some reason, I know you got them, but I'm not making myself clear. We did speak, and you said you were going to send me something, but that's like 3 weeks ago. Is that a reasonable time, or I know you backed up?
Absolutely not. I'm going to write down your phone number right now, and what is your last name? I don't like to do this over the phone, but I want to look up the emails to see where we are.
No, it's okay. John Bacon, Bacon, like bacon and eggs.
Okay. Yes. Yes. I recognize the name. I got it. I have it. I've got your phone number. I'm going to pull up the
860.
I got it. I've got the phone number. It's on my screen. I will look up the email and call you and get back to you and find out what's going on. All right. If we've been remiss on our end, I apologize for that.
Thank
my
you,
only
Jim.
excuse, we're getting over 100 contacts a day, but if I said I was going to speak to you, I should have followed through. So I'll get back to you this afternoon. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Jim. Thank you.
Sure. All right. Bye-bye now. Our next caller is area code 405. That's 405. Go ahead.
Hi, Jim. This is Doug.
Hey, Doug. How you doing?
Couple of questions. Well, actually, just sort of a review. Last week, a caller had a question, and it went into the experience that you had with Iraq and with Kuwait. And you mentioned that at that time you were younger, you were working, and there was a group of 4 men, I guess you mentioned, and they informed you of this potential opportunity. And, of course, this was well before the Internet. And my question is, in the course of this whole issue with the Iraqi dinar, you don't have to say names or anything, have you had any contact with those individuals, and do you think that they are participating in this evaluation as well?
I'm trying to remember. Back at that time, I was at the time a registered investment advisor, and this was a group of guys that were kind of high-risk guys. They did currency speculation. They were doing currency arbitrages. So I did the simple stuff for them, the mutual funds, life insurance, stuff like that. But they were day traders, and they were doing all this stuff. And so they just basically said, Jim, you do a great job for the vanilla stuff we have you do. We're into this high-flying stuff, and we thought you might want to participate in some of this. And, of course, I was a complete newbie with regard to, that stuff. So I got involved with them. I am not doing investment advisory work anymore. I'm doing estate planning work, which is how I got involved with Trusts Unlimited. So I do work with some of them on estate planning. I have not specifically discussed with them recently anything with the Iraqi dinar, but I have every belief that they're involved in it simply because if they were involved in the Kuwaiti dinar, how could they not be involved in the Iraqi dinar? The other issue is, unfortunately, those guys were actually older than me, and a couple of them have passed away. So, but yes, I am working with them, but they created their trusts before the all of this. So, but you know what? That's actually, maybe I ought to give them a holler and just get their opinion, and see what they have to say. And they'll probably say something like, "Hey, Jim, where the hell you been?" You mean you don't have any dinar? Well, actually, I do, and I'm pretty involved in it.
Well, I guess the curiosity is that, in your opinion, these individuals, especially in like currency arbitrage, they were in the know, and they jumped on this, and as such, they would probably have inroads into information that none of us did back in '91, which may mean that they have better information and insight than we do now. It was just a curiosity question.
Now you got me curious. Now I'm going to have to track them down, and they could say anything to me. They'd say, "Oh, my, Jim, you still alive?" Or they could say, "Yeah, we listen to you every week. You're not doing a bad job." You know what I mean? They could say anything.
Right.
So, because once you've done estate planning, once they've created the trust for their family, the only time they would ever contact me is if there was an issue. They want to change their trust, someone's disabled, and they want to institute the health care, a power of attorney or something. So unless something's happened of that nature, I wouldn't necessarily hear from them. But I'll give them a holler and see what they have to say. And if they tell me anything that I think's noteworthy, I'll give you a call.
That's wonderful. Second point, I know the meeting with the Prime Minister going to the White House on the 15th. It's all over the internet, and the speculation is a presentation of documents or something of that nature. Knowing that nothing moves quickly in the governmental circles, this might not necessarily mean a reval is imminent right after the 15th. In your opinion, from that perspective, the time frame that it might take for all the agencies basically to finally, in the United States that is, get coordinated and allow this thing to happen? Because I've been of the opinion the CBI and everybody else has their jobs to do, but when it finally came down to it, and I've held this opinion for a long, long time, it's going to be up to the United States, just like it was up to Obama in 2010 and 12 when he nixed the thing, that the U.S. has the power to say yes this time going forward. And so from a time frame expectation, and I'm glad it's in April, that's for sure, because that means we at least have the second quarter to deal with instead of scrambling here at the last of March. But maybe 30, 45 days after that?
This is just my opinion. I don't think the United States any longer has the power to say yes or no to Iraq. The only thing that they hold over Iraq right now are the OFAC sanctions with the banks. And if the file has been presented to resolve those issues, then the United States has no pretext for delaying it. So, I'm not saying it's going to happen on the 15th. I think that the meeting will include a new rate and when the expectation is to proceed. And like I said, my out date was 60 days, and I'm saying I think it could happen within the next 30. But that's my opinion. I could be wrong.
Okay. Just for a brief review, OFAC stands for Office of
Foreign Asset Control.
Yes. And why do they have that power?
Well, I'm just saying that those are the sanctions they put on the bank. But if Iraq has satisfied the concerns which caused the United States to put the OFAC sanctions on those banks, then it's done. Then there's nothing. I mean, they can't say, well, you fulfilled the requirements, but we're still going to keep the sanctions in place. Well, they wouldn't be enforced.
Okay. Well, we'll see what happens. At least we're coming to the end of March. That's what I was holding my breath for.
Why would Sudani be coming to the United States to be told no? I just don't see him doing that.
Oh, I don't either. I just don't know if that him coming to the United States will be the end-all, the end-all. But
well, remember, he's had the opportunity to come, and he sent other individuals. This time he's coming. So, and, you know, then couple that with his public statements and everything that's going on. I mean, how much longer are they going to drag this out? I mean, how many curtain calls do you do to come out for applause? I mean, you know, at some point it's over, you know?
Well, then the work will truly begin for all of us.
That's the other issue, that people are so fixated on getting this done. They don't realize the tsunami of detail that's going to hit them, and the number of people that will be hitting on them, and the number of options. It's one thing when you're making a decision about moving $2,700 from your IRA. It's another thing when you've got $2.7 million and 5 different people are telling you to do 5 different things with it. So it's
and you've never been in that arena before.
Exactly. Well, there's a reason why the suicide rate and life expectancy is shorter for rich people than it is for middle class people. It's more stress than people realize.
Well, and all we have to do is look to lottery winners, and unfortunately, even though this isn't the lottery, it's still going to be a lot of money, and there's going to be, for many, many, many millions of people who hold dinars who do not have the protection of an irrevocable trust. Golly, it's going to be
There's nothing more pathetic than someone that lost everything. And you don't want to see that happen to anyone, but we know it's going to happen to some people. I think 75% of windfalls like lotteries are gone within 5 years. People just that have never managed money just don't understand that however much it is, it can still go quickly if you're not. That's why I say, when this happens, thank Jesus, invest wisely. And the more money you have, the less risk you need to take.
The one thing I think is going to be the pitfall for many is the impression that they can exchange the lottery at their leisure. The dinars at their leisure, and they'll be surprised when they get hit with a 100% tax penalty.
Yeah, and I don't know that the government is going to be really that concerned, because they just as soon have the money.
Oh, of course they would. Absolutely. Yeah, and that's going to be. Anyway, till next week. We'll see you again.
Yes, sir. All right.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Okay, our next caller is area code 509. That's 509. Go ahead.
Jim, hello. This is Art over in Washington State.
Yes, sir. How are you doing, my friend?
Doing very well. I know I can't imagine, you're receiving over 100 calls a day and people asking questions and pulling you here and there. How do you comb your hair? I mean,
I don't. I
can understand. Anyway, we touched on this a little bit before, but I wanted to close the loop on it, and that in regards to a settlor or beneficiary and trustees. Both, if I understand correctly, both are, for lack of better words, required to be at the redemption and exchange and set up that account.
In order to exchange your currency, if you have a trust, the bank will require certainly that the settlor, the creator of the trust, the owner of the currencies through the trust, and the trustee be present. One of the reasons that we only advise, the establishment of one trustee pre-RV is because if you establish a second trustee and a protector, the banks require that they all be present, even though the trust specifically says that you only need one trustee present for any transaction. But these banks are just hard to deal with. And to be honest with you, they're not particularly happy that you have a trust. They would prefer you have their trust. And there might even be banks that are foolish enough to demand that you not utilize your own trust, in which case you have to say goodbye and go to another bank.
Well, yeah, because they want to be able to have access to your money. That's what it comes down to. It's already known, midnight banking.
That's what, and the other issue is you want to make sure that the bank doesn't try to put a 10 or 21 day hold on your money so that they can use the float.
Right.
The only way I would allow that is if they gave me a rate that I knew was the best possible rate I could get. So I'll do the math in my head and go, well, I end up with an extra $750,000. So, okay, you can hold my money for 10 days for the extra $750,000.
Well, right. They would have to agree that would be the rate that they would accept at the end of that 21
I mean, it's a
days.
negotiation like anything else, you know. But you're the one that's got the leverage because you're the, he who has the gold makes the rules.
Yeah, understand. Okay. Logistically, we'll figure that out. I've got my sister is a beneficiary, and she lives on the other side of the state, so we'll have to get together to be able to accomplish that exchange.
Well, if you're going to the bank to exchange your currencies, that shouldn't be too much of a hardship.
Right. And I don't think they would do video conference.
Doubtful.
Yeah, it was hard enough doing the signatures on the notary at the bank, for her to call anyway. All righty. Well, thank you very kindly, sir. I appreciate immensely what you do, and hopefully it'll be another week, and then after that they'll be more sincere.
I hope so. I'm ready to move on like everyone else. You take care.
You ain't said snack bar. Thanks much. Bye-bye now.
Sure. Bye-bye now. All right, our next caller is, let me see who I haven't gotten to yet. Our next caller is area code 763. That's 763. Go ahead.
Hi, Jim. This is Laura. My friend and I were going. Hi. My friend and I were going over our documents just to prepare for the exchange yesterday. She and I have a joint trust together.
Okay.
And you mentioned the bank documents in the paperwork, and I'm wondering, is that something that needs to be filled out by us prior to going in, or does it get brought to the bank for the bank to help fill it out at the time of the exchange?
Well, I'm not sure which document you're referring to. I mean, all of the supplemental documents. Excuse me. There is a bank document that we have available. Some banks erroneously refer to our trust as a business trust, and a lot of banks won't work with a business trust. Our trust has some characteristics of a business trust, but it is not a business trust. It is a personal asset protection trust, and we have a letter explaining that from our lead attorney. So what I would suggest you do is send me an email. Just say, Jim, I need the bank letter, and I will get that out to you.
Oh, we do have that.
You do?
I just thought there was three documents under the bank docs that were listed to bring to your exchange, and that was what I had questioned about. But I don't have it in front of me to tell you what those three documents are. It was talking about the trust and when it was initiated.
Yes. If you go to, you have the exchange protocol document, and that document identifies, it basically goes through what you say and what you don't say at the bank and what documents you take. You're going to take your master trust. You're going to take the three bank documents that are on the last 3 pages of the trust, and you're going to take your EIN certificate so they can establish the trust bank account. You don't take anything else, and if they ask, you just say there isn't anything else. This is all there is. And as far as they're concerned, that's all they need to know anyway.
Okay. All right. And then also, I'm wondering, because my friend and I have a joint trust together, we realized that we're going to put our foreign currency together in the master trust, but if we want to divide it up into separate accounts, can that be done at the exchange during the master trust, or should it be in sub-trust?
If you have a trust where you're joint settlers, it's going to be complicated to try to establish individual settler accounts within the trust. What you're probably going to do is you're going to set up separate investment accounts and separate accounts outside of the trust, and only transfer out of the trust what you need to transfer out of the trust. That's actually a question for the lawyer. Let me write this down because I'm going to call the lawyers about this. Separate settler accounts.
Yes, because we'll have separate beneficiaries and everything.
Yeah, I will specifically ask the attorneys about separate settler accounts and see what their response is. I haven't been asked that question, but I think it's one we probably need to get an answer to. So I will check that out, and I will call you back unless I can get your email. I'll get an answer to you as quickly as I can.
Okay, that'd be great. And just one other quick thing, just for privacy issues, when we do set up our bank account with the bank, our trust account with the bank, should we be using a P.O. box versus our home address? And should we have an email set up?
Well, now, you should use the address in your trust.
Okay.
Whatever address you use in the trust, use that address.
Okay. All right. And then should we have an email address set up for the trust ahead of time for that purpose, for the trust?
You can do that if you want. There shouldn't be a problem with that.
Okay. All right. Well, that's all my questions.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, Laura. I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can get an answer for the separate bank accounts, settler accounts, okay?
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye now. Our next caller is area code 810. That's 810. Go ahead.
Hi, Jim. This is Diane from Michigan. How are you?
How are you? Oh, okay. Okay. What can I do for you?
Just a quick question. Just want to make sure that I'm understanding this right. So you take the master trust to the bank for your exchange. So are you taking the whole trust or just the...
No, the master trust is just that first approximately 35 pages, which is called, the name of your trust, whatever it is. Beyond that are the gift trust and the sub-trust, which are all unfunded. What you need to do is go back to the email that we sent with your trust package and pull out the exchange protocol document, because that will give you a detailed description of everything you do at the exchange process. In addition, once the currency reinstitutes, when the dinar reinstitutes in country, all of our weekly calls will be dealing with all of this other stuff. We won't be marketing the trust or doing any of the pre-RV stuff. We'll be dealing first and foremost with the exchange protocols and all of that. But pull up that document, the exchange protocol document.
Okay. Okay. Well,
all right.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
And have a blessed Easter holiday weekend.
You too.
Okay.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Unfortunately, I'm going to be working on Easter, but it is what it is. Okay.
Well, hey, well, at least you know that you'll be able to enjoy it. So, you'll be here.
The dinar has risen.
Yes, I like that. I'm going to have to use that then. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now. Okay, let's see if we got, oh my goodness, let's see if we have any. Okay, we got area code 443. That's 443. Go ahead.
Hi, Jim. Can you hear me?
I sure can. Regina?
Hi. Yes, hi. This is Gina from Maryland. I wanted to ask a question as a follow-on to someone who asked a question about their trust and establishing an email address for the trust. What does that mean? Like, I don't understand that. Like, we shouldn't use our personal email address?
Well, I just think it's a preference issue. I mean, no one's ever asked me that before. I use my personal email. I personally wouldn't set up a separate email for my trust, but some people compartmentalize everything. I happen not to do that.
Okay. Yeah, I did. I just didn't know if that was like something that was suggested and I missed that because
no.
Typically when you set up a bank account, like you have to give them I thought you had to give them a physical address, and I didn't. I know they asked for the email address, but we've just done, from my experience, it's always just been your personal one. So I just didn't know if that was something. I wanted your perspective on that.
Yeah, I mean, I use my personal email, and my personal email, is my name, with a number after it. Mm-hmm. So, there's no hiding that. And if I happen to be doing something with the trust and they say, well, what can I send you about the trust, they send it to my personal email. But I operate with a Social Security number, and the trust operates with an EIN number. We're two separate entities, so it really doesn't matter if I use my personal email.
Right. Okay. And I just wanted to, a little info I just got when I was listening on the call today. I got something from someone that I did not realize this, but that Key Bridge, that is a major route for the transportation of fuels and chemicals. And I didn't realize that, and so the supply chain impact will be coming, I'm sure.
Yep. And how do I say this? I don't think Epstein killed himself, and I don't think the Francis Scott Key Bridge was an accident. I'll just leave it at that.
I would agree. I think that everything, there's a lot of intention to do detrimental impact to us commoners, or your average people, and it's intentional.
Here's the pattern. Every time we have an election year, weird things happen. And I think one of the signs of relative intelligence is to identify patterns. And there's a clear pattern here, and it's really beginning to annoy. But that's just me.
No, I just like another caller said, I don't think a lot of things are coincidental. And do people know that bridge is named after Francis Scott Key, who he was the author of the Star-Spangled Banner?
Exactly, and of course they like to tear down statues or anything of historic significance. And of course he was a prisoner on a ship in that harbor when he wrote the Star-Spangled Banner, in and about the area where the bridge is. So, the haters may be at work here, but I just don't think it was an accident. And that's just my
apparently
opinion.
Nope. Yep. And the local people there, they call it the Star-Spangled Bridge. That's what they call it.
Yeah.
So
I've traveled the bridge. I used to live in Baltimore. I lived there till I was 37
me too.
Yeah. So I'm very familiar with it, and that's why anyone that lives in Baltimore. As a matter of fact, my offices were in the World Trade Center. So anyone that lives in Baltimore, right there in the harbor, knows that this is very strange occurrence.
Yes.
And it's funny because let's say they wanted to take the bridge out. Well, they don't want too much attention, so they'll do it at 1 a.m. to minimize civilian or human deaths and injury. So, maybe I'm overthinking it, but it's the whole thing just stinks.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm sure my propane that I need to heat my house, I can only imagine what it's going to cost me.
Well,
after
the other thing,
pretty pricey now.
We're probably digressing from the basis of this call, but that's okay. Of course, what are they going to do? They're going to try to reroute a lot of that traffic through the tunnel. Well, if something happens to the tunnel, let me tell you something. The death and destruction is going to be incalculable.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
well, you can't. There's minimal. You can only get so much through the tunnel. So now they have to go around, right? It'll be a longer route around for transporting, which now increases the cost. So, yeah.
And it's funny because one of the major battles in the War of 1812 was fought in Baltimore Harbor, which is, of course, Fort McHenry and the birth of the Star-Spangled Banner. But the War of 1812 was states refused to renew the central bank deal with London. So, somehow it's all related.
Yes, I think there's a much bigger picture, a much bigger thing here than each of these individual events. We all need to try to keep a bright light and pray. And I think we need to look to a higher power to help us get out of this, because I don't think humans can. And I think that's the point, is that we're supposed to figure out that we can't, that we need
Amen. Amen to that.
Bigger forces. Yep. All right. Well, thank you again for everything you do. It is very much appreciated.
Thanks a lot, Regina. You take care. Bye-bye now.
You too.
Okay. Our next caller is area code 312. That's 312. Go ahead.
Hey, Jim. Les here. How are you, man?
Les. How you doing, Les?
Doing all right. So,
what's up?
Easy question. Well, I got an easy question. I don't know how the answer is going to come out, but when notifications are out for exchanging, they say it's okay to go, how much, if any, are you going to get an advance notice? Because you got to send out emails for us to get on a call, right? How are you going to handle that, or how is that going to be handled?
If the reval happens, I guess it's the timing. Of course, everyone's going to know or should know when it's going to happen. It's not like, oh my God, it happened because Jim George told us. I'm just like you. I'm facing the crowd. So my point is that we're going to do everything we can to have a conference call as quickly as possible to check off some things that we need to deal with, because they flip away.
So as soon as we hear, we should expect a call from you within, hours maybe?
Well, I'm going to call the lawyers and say you need to get an email out immediately doing X, Y, or Z, and we'll figure out how we're going to. Let's say it happens at 5 p.m. on Wednesday, and I got off the call at 1 p.m. on Wednesday. Well, we'll try to have a call by Friday. Try to get an email out immediately and say we're going to have a call on Friday. So that's what I mean about the timing, But, it's hard to say until it actually happens. I can't tell you exactly how we'll deal with it. We'll just move as quickly as we possibly can, because that's all we can do.
So we don't need to wait to exchange. We can just go and exchange, wait for your call.
Yeah, well, presumably, well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, and as a matter of fact, I'm probably going to do it this week, is I'm going to start calling banks, because I've been approached by 2 banks, one of them a client we have that is in a bank that says that their scuttlebutt is that this is going to happen, and the other is I happen to have our trust accounts are with Truist Bank, and they approached me when I was literally in line at Truist to talk about this. So I'm going to be calling banks and just feeling them out. And, I'm just going to say, hey, look, I represent a firm that has literally thousands of clients that have dinar. And if we go to your bank, I want to know what you're going to do for us, and just let them. And then if they sound like they're legit, say, well, can we have that in writing? If they say no, I'll say, see you later.
All righty.
So that's where we are.
That's all
right?
All right. All right. Thanks again. Say hi to the professor
Take
for
care.
me, please. All right.
Okay, we'll do that. Take care. Bye-bye.
All righty. Bye.
Well, Les was our last caller for this afternoon. Again, I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time to listen to this call. I will be returning some calls this afternoon from individuals that said that we needed to speak. Our next call is scheduled for next Wednesday. By the way, if the things we've discussed are of interest, I certainly hope you will contact us to get our initial no-obligation package. You can either contact us by email, which is trusts with an S, Unlimited LLC at gmail.com, or through our phone service, which is 307-274-4122. Contact us regarding our trust package by phone or email. We'll get it out to you right away, and we'll be happy to assist you in every way. Our next call is scheduled for next Wednesday. Certainly, if something of dramatic nature were to happen between now and then, we'll try to get out an emergency email and schedule an emergency conference call. But failing that, we'll be back next Wednesday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Thanks so much for listening, everyone, and have a great week. Bye-bye now.
Recorded.